Hi everyone, Derek here, and I wanted to talk about what I see coming in the year ahead in the world of e-commerce, in the world of internet marketing. And it's always fun to make some predictions and then sort of reflect back and see, hey, what did I get right? And so what I did this year is I said, hey, let's make 10 formal predictions. Okay, what do I think is going to happen in 2015? What do I see coming? What are the things that I think as internet marketers, as online businesses, that we need to pay close attention to? And it was funny when I started. I sat down in Evernote, where I brainstorm my ideas and write my blog posts and stuff like that. Wonderful application. And I started brainstorming and writing out ideas and predictions and things that I saw coming. And at first I'm like, oh man, am I going to be able to come up with 3 or 4 or 5? Next thing you know, I had this massive list, and then I pared it down to, I think, the 10 that I felt most relevant here to talk about today. So what I want to do now is I want to walk through my kind of 10 predictions, 10 things that I see coming, big shifts in internet marketing, stuff that we need to pay attention to. So 10 internet marketing trends and predictions for 2015. And it's funny, 2015, it blows my mind that we're at 2015 because I really started online in 1996, okay? It's amazing how fast this goes by. I'm a year away from doing this for 20 years. 20 years, unbelievable. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Let's jump into these predictions. All right, so prediction number 1. Okay, now guys, this is a big one, and it's been coming for a long time, but this year is, I guess, what you could call the tipping point, and that is in 2015, mobile is finally going to trump desktop in terms of e-commerce, in terms of purchasing online. Now, there are tons of websites that if you look at their user statistics, primarily media sites like news sites, stuff like that, you're going to see that the large majority of their traffic today is actually mobile. Mobile being cell phones, smartphones, tablets, stuff like that. All right, and so in 2014 and 2013, a lot of big media sites saw mobile usage exceed desktop usage. Okay, so laptops and standard computers. Okay, as far as the majority of their traffic, but e-commerce, actual transactions, in many cases are still right now today. More people are buying utilizing laptops, computers, desktops, stuff like that. And so in 2014, though, I believe that mobile, based on all the trends I'm looking at, all the shifts that are taking place, that more people, more traffic in most businesses, okay, not in all businesses, in most businesses are going to see more people making purchases on mobile devices versus your standard desktop or laptop computer. So as we go through these predictions, I'm going to give you my predictions, and then I want to summarize it with some takeaways. Okay, so what is your takeaway? What does this mean to you? Well, first of all, this means responsive design from A to Z. Now, what I mean by that is, first of all, what's responsive design? Responsive design is making sure that your website is designed in such a way using responsive HTML so that when your website is viewed on a tablet or a smartphone or a laptop, it will reorganize itself to present itself in the most usable format. All right? Now, there's 2 things I want to highlight here. First of all, historically, many people have taken the approach of developing a site, a separate website for mobile versus their desktop website. Now, the problem with that is effectively you've built two different websites, and Google's made it very clear that they prefer responsive design. So rather than maintaining multiple websites for different platforms, you have one website that is going to reorganize itself effectively for the device that is viewing it. And you know, that may sound really complicated. The good news is if you're using something like WordPress, you just need to make sure you're using what is called a responsive theme. Okay, so when you go out and you purchase your themes, you'll find most of these themes most of the new themes are responsive. Okay, so they're going to adjust automatically for you. And for our members, we're currently working on a new whole website template that we're going to be rolling out over the coming weeks as well, that is going to be fully responsive as well. So responsive from A to Z. Now, I put from A to Z on there because a mistake I see lots of companies making is their website itself is responsive. So their sales pages, stuff like that. But then when you step into their e-commerce system to actually place an order, the order pages aren't responsive, or they don't play well with mobile devices. Now, if you're using a mainstream e-commerce system like a PayPal or a Magento or a Shopify or something like that, it is going to have responsive friendly or mobile friendly functionality, so you should be okay. But if you're using something custom and it doesn't display well in mobile, that is something you're going to need to address soon, because it's going to start to hurt your sales, as people on mobile devices want to order, but it's not convenient. So what does this mean? It means you're going to have a lot more buyers on mobile devices. And you know, I said it a moment ago, and I'll say it again. This is still dependent on your niche markets, okay? There are certain markets where you're never going to have predominantly mobile people buying on mobile devices, okay? So let's take I'm going to try and come up with an example here for you. If your market was, say, selling software to developers, okay? Developers typically do not develop on mobile devices, all right? They develop on laptops and on computers and stuff like that. So chances are your majority of transactions will always be on laptops. But for general consumers, you're going to start to see a heck of a lot more of your transactions happening on mobile devices. And responsive design is key, because Google they stated it a while ago, but it's going to really become even more relevant soon, if your website is not responsive, it's going to negatively impact your search engine rankings in Google, because Google knows that if half the people are searching keywords, half the traffic they're sending to you is on a mobile device, but your website is not responsive, they know they're sending traffic to a website that, well, those people can't really use the website properly anyway. So they want to display websites that are going to be easily viewed on the mobile device. So responsive design is going to become more key and critical. So, you know, what's the easiest way to test this, guys? Real simple. Go break out your smartphone, go surf your website. If you don't have an iPhone, grab your friend's iPhone. If you don't have an Android device, check it out on an Android device. Check it out. Make sure it works properly. Look at the usability of it. Does it display well? Can you use the website? Pretty easy to test. And you know, one more little shift in the industry that is also going to drive mobile usage and more people buying on smartphones specifically is, over the last year, there has been a surge in the amount of large format, large screened smartphones, okay? So historically, if we go back to our initial iPhone, let's take that for an example, that screen by today's standards was really small. But now, the smallest iPhone of the new generation, the iPhone 6, is a much larger screen. Okay, and now we have the 6 Plus. And if you look at so many of the different Samsung devices, a lot of the different Android devices, they're all a much larger screen. Okay, so that too is driving people to be able to purchase from their mobile devices. Okay, so that was prediction number 1, and now moving on to prediction number 2. Oh, I should add, there's one more thing on here that I want to highlight. I almost missed that, and that is you probably don't need an app. All right, and I want to answer that question in advance because as people see mobile is growing, many businesses think, hey, I need an app. And I say, well, what's your app going to do? And they're going to say, well, it allows people to shop and view my products and get updates. And really, if you have a good responsive website, that's what your website is going to do. The fact is most people's mobile devices now are getting cluttered with apps, all right? And what's happening is people are starting to remove apps that are not apps that you need, okay? So if you are selling widgets on your website, I don't need an app. I need a browser to be able to view your responsive website. I don't need an app. So unless you have an app that delivers some kind of specific functionality that you couldn't deliver through a responsive website, you probably don't need an app. All right, so prediction number 2. Now, 2014 saw a big rise in content marketing. And 2015, content marketing is going to become really it's standalone, a standalone marketing strategy. And what I mean by that is you're going to start to see companies that don't just use content as a subset of their other initiatives and campaigns, social, SEO, but as its own marketing channel, okay? And that's meaningful to us as small businesses as well, because that's the kind of thing that, you know, indicates that, well, we need to be paying attention to it. Now, historically, we created content to rank in Google, all right? And to give Google what Google wanted was lots of good content, all right? And so it was always, you know, lots of people always looked at the content they created as really a subset of their search engine optimization, their search engine marketing. So what you had in search engine marketing, you had your on-site optimization, which meant optimizing your website, dripping new content to it, which was the content component, and link building, okay? So those are kind of your 3 pillars of search engine optimization. And so content marketing was always kind of a subset of that. And then to an extent, you know, social came along, and you're creating content to push out there over the social channels. But content is really starting to stand out there on its own, and people are realizing that it's more than about just creating search engine optimized content. Rather, it's creating content that your industry wants. So the takeaway here is you need to write not just for Google, okay? You need to create content for your market, for your visitors, first. Engaging content, relevant content, not regurgitated content, but content that offers value that people want to read. And we're going to talk about that in one of my future predictions here momentarily, because it is going to have a real impact on your SEO, and I'll explain why. But the fact is your content is what is going to drive relationships with people, okay? It's going to build your website's authority. When somebody goes to a website that's just selling, and then they go to the competitor's website that is not only selling but is educating, that is building relationships, that has a personality, that has a voice through the content they're producing, there's a much better connection there, and you're going to see a lot better conversion from that relationship, from the relationship that the content's created. So it's going to drive your relationships. I mean, content is the foundation of your relationships, your authority in the industry, your social campaigns. campaigns. Social campaigns are driven by the content you're producing. People want to share content. People want to share articles, images, videos, stuff like that. That content is what's driving your social, okay? And also, it's still a foundation, the foundation of your SEO. If you don't have good content on your website, it doesn't matter if you have great links, you're not going to rank. So you need to have good content. And, you know, one of the big mistakes that I constantly see people making with their content is not maximizing the value of every piece of content that they create. So what I mean by that is somebody has a great idea, they sit down and they write a blog post, and they post that up to their blog and they leave it alone, okay? But the fact is the written text that you put on your blog is just one form of media, all right? If you have a great blog post, you need to turn it into a podcast. So sit down and read your blog post, record it, create a podcast out of it, create a video out of it, put it into a PowerPoint, sit down and read it and turn it into a video. So now you can push that video out over YouTube. You can post the video on your website. You can then transcribe it. You use that as text on your website. You push the podcast out to iTunes so that people can subscribe to it there. It's the same content, but it's in multiple different formats being pushed out over these different platforms. So you're not having to come up with all these new ideas. You're taking one idea and utilizing it across video, audio, and text. So make sure that you are really maximizing the value of your content. So prediction number 2, content marketing is going to take a front and center role. It's going to stand on its own. It's no longer going to be a subset of many of the other marketing campaigns. And like I said before, you're going to start to see bigger companies, you know, that have an SEO team, that have an email marketing team. They're now allocating budgets to a content marketing team to develop that content. All right, prediction number 3. And this is a prediction that some people are going to groan about, and I mean, it was inevitable. It is inevitable, I believe, and to an extent, right now, I'm actually kind of happy about it, and that is Facebook is going to become 100% pay to market. All right. Now, what I mean by that is historically Facebook, from a marketing standpoint, has had 2 different approaches. There's their advertising platform where you can go out there, create ads, target people, push your ads out, and spend money to advertise on Facebook. Very powerful platform. But the other side of it was you could build an audience on Facebook, people who like your page, people who follow you, people who are your friends. And then when you posted something to your page, if somebody liked your page, they would then see whatever you posted in their news feed, okay? So it was effectively a free way to advertise to people who liked you on Facebook, which was very powerful. But over the last year, well, the last couple of years, but really in 2014, we saw that ability to reach the people who like you on Facebook diminish. And what I mean by that is Facebook has obviously grown tremendously, huge. The average person on Facebook, and I'm pulling these numbers out of my memory bank, they may be a little bit wrong, but they're probably pretty darn close, is the average person on Facebook has 200 friends, okay? And so that means if someone on average saw everything posted by all of their friends in their newsfeed on a given day, the average person would see something like 1,600 different items pass through their newsfeed, which would be information overload, which would be far too much, and people would quit using Facebook because it just wouldn't be relevant. There'd be too much stuff to ever try and consume. So over the last few years, Google has been tweaking their algorithm to actually filter out and only display what they feel is relevant or that you really want to see in your news feed. So if you have 100 friends and they all post 2 things in a day, you're going to have 200 potential posts that are going to come through your news feed. Facebook is going to go through their algorithm, filter all that through their algorithm and say, okay, based on your behaviors, based on stuff that you've been doing on Facebook, people you're conversing with, pages you visit, out of these 200, here's, say, the 10 most likely things you want to see. So what that means as a marketer, even though somebody liked your page, unless they're actively engaged with it on a regular basis, the likelihood of them actually seeing your posts is slim to none, unless you're willing to pay to boost your post so that your followers actually see it. Okay? So over the last, my goodness, 7, 8, 9 years, we've been able to really leverage the free side of Facebook, but that's kind of going away now. So the takeaway from this is Facebook is a massive source of traffic. And the people who like your page are people you want to continue to engage with. And you want to be able to push your content out to them. But you want to make sure that they're seeing it. So now, for example, if you create a great piece of content that you want to distribute out there, that you want to create social signals with so that it ranks better in Google, so that you get people to come and read it, to get them to engage, to get them to buy your product, you now need to be budgeting to boost your post so that at least the people who already like you are going to see the post that you've posted on your page in their news feed. And the good news is it's not expensive, okay? So over the last few months I've been testing, and if I post something to my Facebook page and I have over 10,000 people, I think 10,100 people that like my Facebook page, okay? And if I post something to that page and I don't boost it, I will see maybe 5, 10 likes on that max. But if I take and I put $10 down and say I want to boost this for the next, say, 3 to 5 days to my followers, and I'm willing to spend, say, $10, I'm going to see multiple shares. I'm going to see hundreds of likes, more people engaged with it. I'm going to see people, I immediately see my opt-in rates going up. So the moral of the story is although it's not free anymore, boosting your post today, because not a lot of people are, to your followers gets a really good result. And one of the things I need to caution people against as you move forward with Facebook right now, Facebook's advertising platform is in its infancy still. It's growing at a phenomenal rate. Their controls as far as screening ads is absolutely terrible, and you may face some frustrating moments. And I was actually just having this conversation with one of our mastermind members just the other day as she was posting an ad to Facebook that was getting rejected because they said it violated their policies, although there were tons of ads running that were far more in violation of any of those policies. So right now with Facebook, as you start to advertise using their platform, boost their posts, stuff like that, there is an element of patience that is going to come into play while you're working with them as they're growing. And you know, it's something that we went through with AdWords and years ago with Google as they were going through massive growth as well. All right, prediction number 4. Pinterest is going to be, Facebook is the biggest, hands down, but Pinterest is going to be, I guess what you could say, the darling of e-commerce in 2015. And it's going to surpass Twitter as far as users go, all right? Twitter has been second to Facebook for a very long time. Pinterest is currently on a growth trajectory that has them on pace to surpass Twitter as far as users go in 2015. And there's a few takeaways here. First of all, when you are creating content for your website, blog posts, it's critical that you start creating images that when people come to those posts, they can also pin the images. And I don't mean just putting up a picture of a stock image off, that you can find on any website, but creating images that have clever captions, stuff like that. And nowadays that's really easy to do. You don't need to be a graphic designer. I use, for my blog posts, I just go to canva.com, and for $1 I can create a really good image that I can stick on my website. I can customize it, add all sorts of cool stuff to it. Also, utilizing it for product images, stuff like that, very, very important. And also using it to drive real sales, okay? So they have what are called promoted pins. So if your market is on Pinterest, you can take and promote pins. So taking images, promoting those images to drive traffic back to your website. And over the last year, something that I think surprised a lot of people, including myself, is the traffic that you can get from Pinterest is some of the highest converting traffic from the different, say, traffic sources out there right now. In fact, Pinterest traffic converts on average higher than any other social media traffic. So in 2015, Facebook is obviously the big guy. Want to continue to pay attention to Facebook, but as a secondary social channel to start leveraging, to start working with, Pinterest is definitely definitely one to pay attention to. Now, that being said, it's not right for every market, okay? So as I go through and I talk about these things, not everything may apply to your business. What I know about Pinterest is it's primarily women that use Pinterest. Now, there's definitely going to be more men that are using Pinterest as it grows and becomes more popular, but its primary market is women, okay? And there's certain products on it that are going to do better than other products. So, for example, Etsy and Pinterest have a great alignment because typically stuff you're selling on Pinterest is, handmade goods, okay? Stuff that you're going to want to take pictures of, share, stuff like that. So, that being said, pay close attention to Pinterest because it is going to continue to grow. And, it's got a huge user base, but beyond that, the reason it's going to continue to grow is because the people that are on Pinterest convert well. They buy stuff, okay? That means Pinterest can sell advertising. That means Pinterest can make money. More money Pinterest makes, the more they market it, the bigger they get. All right, prediction number 5. Okay, social. Now, I've talked about content marketing, and content marketing was really, historically, we would create content on our websites, and then the number one source of traffic to that content was typically organic search. So we would optimize it, it would rank in Google, it would start to draw traffic. Now, what I've been seeing, and the trends I've been seeing over the last year, and it's continuing to change, is as your blog grows, as your content grows, social now is driving more traffic to the content on your website in many cases than SEO is. So, one of the takeaways is we're not just creating content for search, okay? As you're creating your content, you need to be leveraging social platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like Pinterest where appropriate, or LinkedIn where appropriate, to drive people to those articles. Because when people engage, when they like, when they share, other people see that. And what I am starting to see now is where Google was a bigger source of traffic in many cases, when I post something new, immediately social, Facebook, is a far bigger source of traffic. Now, that may balance out over time, but in the short term, social gives you a bigger source of traffic. So, as you're creating content, make sure that the content you're creating is being pushed out over these different channels, over Facebook, over Twitter. When you create a blog post, you should have a checklist of things you do after that post comes up, which is go to your Facebook page, post it on your Facebook page, post it on your Facebook profile, get people to like it, get people to share it, boost that post, send out a tweet, okay? If you have Twitter followers, if you have Pinterest, grab an image from your post that you created in Canva and pin it. Start driving traffic to those. Use the social channels to promote that content. Which brings us to prediction number 6, and that is, now this one's an SEO one. Here we go. Usage metrics. Usage metrics are going to start playing a much, much bigger role in SEO. Historically, it was backlinks. The big influencers were backlinks, new content, on-site optimization, and to an extent, social signals. But now, Google is really starting to look a lot harder and finding ways to look a lot harder at usage metrics. That means they're looking at how people engage with your content. And if you think about it, this is very meaningful, and it's a really good way to determine how good or where they should rank a website. If you take 2 web pages that have similar articles, or are optimized for similar keywords. Website A has way more backlinks. Okay, it's on a way more of an authority website. But that specific web page has a really high bounce rate, meaning people go to it and they leave right away because the content's not very good. Whereas website B has a web page that's optimized for the same keyword, and it has way less backlinks, it has a lot less authority, but when people go there, they stay. They read the page. They engage with the page. They click to other pages. Why would they do that? Well, because the content is much better. So what Google has figured out now is that how people interact with the page is a good gauge of how good the content is. And Google wants to display good content. So they're now finding ways to look at usage metrics, and those usage metrics are going to play a much bigger role in SEO. Now, the term, usage metrics kind of sounds complicated, but really there's 2 things that you need to focus on. First of all, keeping people on your web page, okay? So not having them bounce off right away. So getting people to visit your web page, read it, and most importantly, encouraging people to click to other pages on your website, okay? So that when somebody comes to your web page, they don't just leave on the page that they came in on. They click around to other pages. When Google sees somebody goes to a page and comes back from that page, that looks like a bounce. Somebody just saw something, they left. But if they see somebody clicks to a page and then visits other pages, that would indicate to them that this is a good website. It engaged the person. It got them to look around. And so now, because technology is advancing, they're finding new ways to measure that. That is playing a much bigger role in your search engine rankings. So what does this mean? Well, What this means is you need to start looking at ways to not just get people to read a page, but to click to multiple pages. Now, one of the ways you see a lot of big media websites do this is they'll take one article and they'll split it up over multiple pages. So if you wrote a blog post that was 1,000 words, you could say take the first 300 words on one page and then have next a link, so they click next to move to the next page and to the next page. So to consume that entire article, they've now had to click on multiple pages. And in Google's eyes, that's going to increase your engagement. So that's just one strategy there. But as you create content for your websites in 2015, one of the things you need to be aware of is Google's looking at these metrics. So you want to keep people on your website, and you want them to be consuming multiple pages. And if you do that well, you're going to see that have a big impact on your search engine rankings. Which brings us to prediction number 7. All right, so prediction number 7. Social signals. So social signals are going to continue to play an increasing role in SEO. Now, over the last couple of years, they have played a role in your search engine rankings. Okay, so Google looking at how many people are liking, tweeting, stuff like that. But the sheer volume of content going through social, Google kind of took a step back over the last couple of years and realized, hey, we can't index all of this content. So we can't really leverage the true power of the social signals to help determine rankings. But in 2015, Google is focusing on increasing the amount of social content that they're able to index. And obviously it makes sense for them because so much of the content on the internet today is created through these social platforms. And so as a business, they need to continue to index that. So now their technology is evolving to the point where they're able to index that, and they're now starting to index all the tweets going through Twitter, more of what's happening on Facebook. So now they're able to use those social signals, or this is my prediction, that they're going to be able to use those social signals to help determine where you rank. Okay, so effectively giving us another tool in our SEO arsenal to help position our website. So what do? Well, you need to encourage sharing. And this goes back to having the ability to boost our posts on Facebook. Because when you boost a post on Facebook, that immediately increases your sharing, your likes on of your content, which is going to help your rankings. All right, which brings us to prediction number 8. And maybe this is a prediction, maybe this is me just hoping, but I do believe that in 2015, we're going to see Bing continue to take on a much larger chunk of the search market. They're going to take market share away from Google. All right, and there's a couple reasons this is going to happen. Now, one reason I actually wrote a blog post about just recently, and that was a new version of Firefox that was just released. Now, historically, Firefox is a big browser. It owns a 20+% of the browser market share. And historically, the default search engine in Firefox was set to Google. Okay. Now, Firefox recently released a new version of the browser, which was rolled out in the North American market with the default search engine set to Bing. This immediately took a big chunk of the market share away from Google and gave it to Bing. And you saw that reflected in the search stats almost immediately. Now, Firefox is going to continue to roll that browser out over 2015, so that's going to have an impact. But there's something else that's happening, and I'm kind of a betting man here, and I think that this is going to have a real impact as well on Google's market share, and that is Microsoft. Microsoft is going to be launching Windows 10, okay, to replace Windows 8.1. Now, Windows 10 on its own isn't going to have influence over this, but part of Windows 10 being rolled out is a brand new browser is being released, and it's going to not be a new version of Internet Explorer. Rather, what it's going to be is a whole new browser altogether. And looking behind the scenes, it looks like Microsoft has done two things well. Windows 8 was a bit of a train wreck and, didn't go well. Windows 10, and I've installed the preview, I've looked at it, for all intents and purposes is a very good operating system. And so what I think we're going to see is a lot of companies that were hesitant to upgrade to Windows 8 are going to move to Windows 10. And with Windows 10, everybody's going to get this new browser. And from what I can see, this new browser offers a lot of very cool features. And if there's a good adoption of this browser, it's going to drive market share to Bing because, well, Microsoft owns Bing. So obviously, Bing is going to be the default search engine in Windows, or in this new browser. So what we're seeing is the market share being chipped away from Google. And frankly, that's a good thing because they do need more competition. So that's something that I see happening. And the takeaway here, guys, is we really need to start paying attention to Bing as far as where we rank in it, the potential traffic it sends to us. Because as it becomes a better search engine, which it is, it has the potential to send a lot of traffic. All right, which brings us to number 9. There's no denying how powerful Amazon has become. Okay, Amazon has revolutionized online retailing. But something that they've done over the last couple of years that has now positioned them to become part of almost everybody's business is they've opened up their retailing platform so that anybody with a product can effectively open an Amazon store, tap into Amazon's traffic, and start selling their products on Amazon. Amazon is enormous. And so the takeaway here is if you are selling physical products in any Western market today, along with your website, you should also have an Amazon storefront to be tapping into Amazon and selling your products there. Now, Amazon has done something else that is absolutely amazing, and that is they have opened up their fulfillment services, their logistics services, to basically every business in the world. So if you have products now, you can ship them in bulk to Amazon's warehouses. And Amazon will now take care of all of your fulfillment for you in most Western markets. They're expanding into European markets, and in 2015, I predict we're going to see them going into Australian and Asian markets. Okay? And the tests have already shown that if you are retailing using Amazon and your products are being fulfilled by Amazon, your conversion rates shoot through the roof because you are now effectively almost like an Amazon partner. People feel like they're buying from Amazon, which gives them a sense of security, okay? Which means that if you are selling physical products online, you need to be paying close attention in 2015 to what Amazon is doing and utilizing their platform to sell your products. Now, I know we have lots of members in Australia and in Asia. Now, this is primarily in North America right now. They're expanding in the European markets, and I'm saying my prediction is in 2015, we're going to see their fulfillment services being opened up in Asia, in Australia, more around Europe, so that everybody can take advantage of the logistics that they have there. So Amazon is one to pay attention to, but beyond that too is there's a lot of different retail platforms out there now, e-commerce platforms like eBay's, like Etsy's, that are local to specific markets. So if you're in Singapore, Q10 is a big one. And if you have products, you can start selling those on Q10. Okay, so, paying attention to these different retail platforms is very important. Having your own e-commerce presence is important. Having your own website will continue to be important. But also leveraging these other channels will become a bigger part, I believe, of most retail type businesses online. And Amazon is by far leading the charge. And in 2015, we need to keep a close eye on that because they're going to start expanding globally, and their fulfillment and logistics services that you can now tap into for very low cost allows virtually anybody effectively to sell physical product without actually even needing your own fulfillment services, which is absolutely phenomenal. Which brings us to our last prediction. Email is making a big comeback. And what I mean by that, and there's a couple things here. First of all, in the early days of internet marketing, we would drive traffic to our websites, but the only way to really reach out and target and market to people was via email. So people would opt in, we'd send emails to our email list, people would come back and buy. But over the last 7, 8 years, as social media has grown and grown and grown, there's been a lot of distraction from email marketing as people put all of their focus into social channels like Facebook, like Twitter, like LinkedIn. And there were lots of businesses effectively ignoring email marketing. But something that, I've known and most good direct response marketers online have known is email converts far better than any other form of advertising that you can push out to people. So if I could send a promoted post out to everybody who likes my page, or I could send an email to those same people for promoting a product, I would choose email because the email will always outconvert and outperform from a sales and conversion standpoint over social every time. And now, as the social channels, Facebook in particular, becomes more difficult to advertise on as there's more competition, there's now a big swing back to email as people realize that email is such a powerful tool to target people, to communicate with people, to get them to come back and buy, but also to build relationships with people. The term, the money is in the list, is near and dear to my heart because at the end of the day, when you're in a marketplace where there's lots of competition, in many cases, you're far better to focus on not getting the sale right away, but capturing leads, building a database, building a relationship with that database, and then selling to those. So in 2015, you're going to see a lot bigger emphasis on email marketing again, as people realize that although social plays a huge role in all of the marketing that we do, from a one-to-one marketing channel that allows you to reach out, target, bring people in without distraction, nothing matches email. So the takeaway there is, guys, build your database. When you have new visitors coming to your website, don't primarily focus right away on making the sale. Build the list. once you have somebody in your database, now you have the luxury of communicating with them, building a relationship, and then getting them to buy. And fact is email conversion trumps all other communication channels, whether it be social, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. Okay, so email is going to make a big comeback, and the tools are there. We know how to use them. We just need to start.